You can probably do it with your eyes closed. Point your phone camera at your face, press the shutter button, and bingo, a selfie. But next time you smile, hug a celebrity, and post the pic, spare a thought for Rembrandt van Rijn and Vincent van Gogh, among others. They never saw a smartphone or the internet, and most of them couldn't even tell you what a camera was. But they did all know about selfies. Back in the old days, selfies were more commonly known as self-portraits. Before photography was invented, people who wanted pictures of themselves, and could afford it, commissioned artists to paint their portraits. If you were an artist, it was even easier. You just looked in the mirror and painted what you saw. Self-portraits can often tell us about the clothing of a particular time, about art material and styles, and how old or rich or handsome the artist was or is. But most of all, they let us look right inside the minds of the brilliant and sometimes a bit bonkers people who created them. Take Vincent van Gogh, who cut off a piece of his ear, but still thought it would make a nice picture. Rembrandt drew, painted, and etched his own reflection so many times, we can see almost every stage of his life. Albrecht Dürer. Dürer looks haughty and confident, with a stiff but elegant pose. His clothing is expensive, extravagant, and Italian in style. We all want to look good in a selfie, and 500 years ago it was the same. Albrecht Dürer dressed up in fancy clothes for this self-portrait, announcing to the world that he was rich and grand. Dürer was 26 when he painted this, and already a leading artist, best known for his woodcut prints. On a trip to Italy, he noticed that great artists had a higher social status than they did at home in Germany. Dürer wanted to be treated like that too. After Dürer's death, admirers cut locks of his hair to remember him by. You can still see some at the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, Austria. Rembrandt van Rijn. Rembrandt was the biggest selfie maker of his time, creating nearly 100 self-portraits that spanned 40 years of his life. They track his changing appearance, as well as his developing painting style. Rembrandt pictured himself in all sorts of poses, outfits, and moods. As a young man, he often appeared in fine clothing, perhaps in the style of the rich people whose portraits he painted. Sometimes his scenes were theatrical, like the one he painted at the age of 29 with his wife Saskia sitting on his knee. By the end of his life, Rembrandt was an expert at capturing character. He stripped away all the fancy dress and showed us simply Rembrandt the person. In his last self-portrait, aged 63, he seems sad, yet calm and dignified. We see him inside and out, with every lump, sag, and wrinkle on display. When experts examined his painting under X-ray, they discovered that the artist had made some changes. Originally, his hat was much bigger and all white, and his hands had held a paintbrush. Rembrandt painted over this detail, bringing all our attention back to his face. Elizabeth V J Bron. This lady looks pretty in her straw hat and pink dress. She has a gentle smile and a friendly and welcoming gaze. V J Bron wanted people to like her in this selfie, and they did. In the 18th century, female artists had to work hard to be taken seriously. Traditionally, painting was something that women did mostly as a hobby. V J Bron was extremely talented, and she also sold her skills well. Self-portraits like this one were a way to attract attention and win people's hearts. Elizabeth looks natural and relaxed in the painting. She seems comfortable with her palette and brushes, but they aren't the focus of the scene. Joseph de Croux. These days, funny faces in selfies are nothing unusual, but in the 1700s, people tended to be more straight-faced. Most self-portraits avoided any strong feeling of being happy, cross, or tired. It was different for the artists on these pages, though. Joseph de Croux found traditional portraiture too prim and proper. Instead, He tried to capture the personalities of everyone he painted. In this self-portrait, he caught himself in the middle of a yawn. There's nothing shy or self-conscious about it. He pushes out his belly and opens his mouth wide, in a way that makes us want to yawn too. Vincent van Gogh. You might take a selfie when something unusual happens to you. Van Gogh made this one after he cut a piece from his ear, following an argument with his friend and fellow artist, Gauguin. Can you see the bandage on the side of Van Gogh's head? The unlucky ear was actually the left one, but he was looking in a mirror when he painted this. Rather than hiding his injury, he made it the focus of the picture. His face looks as if he's lost in thought. Notice how Van Gogh used big, thick brushstrokes. They bring out the different textures of his clothes, fur cap, bandage, and bony face. Sometimes he squeezed paint straight from the tube onto the canvas, and it would take weeks and weeks to dry. Behind the artist, we see a Japanese print. Van Gogh was fascinated by Japanese art. He loved its bold outlines, flat colors, and shapes, and did his best to use them in his own work. When he painted this selfie, Van Gogh was mentally ill. After cutting the chunk off his ear, he gave it to a woman as a gift. He was taken into a hospital, and a few months later, checked into an asylum. Selfies today. Selfies today are everywhere. With digital cameras and smartphones, anyone can snap themselves in an instant and share the picture with their friends or the world. Celebrities are doing it. Politicians are doing it. Will the selfie craze ever end? 2013 was the year that #selfie took off. More than 17 million people were posting a selfie on social media every week. In 2014, the word selfie made it into the Oxford Dictionary and was approved for the board game Scrabble. Technologies such as front-facing cameras, selfie sticks, and hand gesture sensors have made selfie snapping easier than ever before. In 2013, Pope Francis went viral in the first papal selfie, taken with young fans at the Vatican. When you post a selfie, you're displaying a view of yourself that you want other people to see. When artists make self-portraits, it's the same. So next time you pose, remember you have something in common with every famous face in this book.